Dear Kirill, for the last few weeks, I tried to reach you over the email, chats, Basecamp, phone calls, and FaceTime calls to no avail. As a last resort, I decided to send you the old-fashioned letter to be delivered by a pigeon from Moscow to Munich. We still have questions regarding financial side of Transcripto that remain unanswered. You may ignore me, but for the sake of business, please, do not ignore these questions. Hugs and kisses, Leo.
I had zero desire to talk to Leo after he touched me with the blue dots blue gradient on the main page of the Transcripto. Friends don't make friends write too much CSS. So, we are not friends anymore, which is good. It's a bad idea to do business with friends anyway. Still, I found his questions pretty important to answer, especially for you, my dear making a product observer. It's a fair set of questions that we didn't consider in depth during the development. But now, when the release is nigh, it's time to do some financial planning of the product. So, the first question is:
A while ago you mentioned that if we take into account the cost of the script that we use, then we can make the cost of transcribing 1 minute of audio, something like 5 cents per minute. Why exactly this amount? Is it possible to go lower than that to make our product even more affordable?
Let's first revisit some of the decisions we made during the planning phase. When we checked what Transcripto's competitors are doing, we found a few different pricing models. First one is to charge a monthly subscription fee with some amount of hours of audio included. Such tools are normally targeted at people who need more than just a speech-to-text conversion. Another group of tools charge per hour. I believe those tools are built for people with too much money in their pockets. Finally, there are some tools that charge per minute. Transcripto falls into that category. But how much exactly should we charge per minute? To figure this out, we need to consider our costs. Transcripto is using a cloud service called Amazon Transcribe to do the actual transcription. Amazon charges $0.0004 per second or 0.024 per minute. Naturally, we can't charge lower than this amount, but we also want to make money. We saw some other companies charging 25 cents per minute, which in our case would translate to 10 times surplus. On the other side, those other companies also have many more features. Because for now we only want to provide affordable speech-to-text and nothing else, 2x surplus sounds pretty fair. That's how I ended up with 5 cents per minute pricing. We might need to increase it in the future, especially with all this inflation rumors. We can't make it cheaper than this because there are a few other things that contribute to the total cost we have, which brings me to the Leo's second question.
While we were working on payments for MKDev, we had to think a lot about European value added tax, generating invoices, and so on. Shouldn't we use some existing payment providers to simplify all of this for Transcripto as well? How much would it cost?
Obviously, we are not going to implement our own payment system from scratch. There are so many amazing payment providers that it would be insane to even try to do it on our own, being a team of one developer. We normally use Stripe, arguably the most developer-friendly and the best-known service out there. The cool side of using Stripe is the Stripe checkout feature. It's a beautiful Stripe-hosted payment page that takes over the complete payment process. We only need to redirect the user to this page and then process the successful payments and trigger the transcription. As many other things, it took few dozen lines of Ruby code to implement price calculation and integration with the Stripe's APIs. What Stripe does not provide is a solution for generating EU-compliant invoices, charging the correct VAT rate, and so on. All of this I will have to implement myself. Keep in mind that Stripe is not your bookkeeping system or tax compliance tool. First and foremost, it's a payment processor. It's really good at charging money from cards, bank accounts, and many other sources, and it has fantastic APIs, but there is still some glue code you need to write in order to generate and store all the invoices properly. Stripe also has pay-as-you-go model. For card payments, it charges 2.9% plus 25 cents for each transaction. The minimum charge is 50 cents, meaning that we can't charge less than that for any transcription we have. With the cost of each transcription in mind, there is something else to consider: the fixed cost that we will have each month only to keep the service running.
What worries me the most about the pricing is that, as far as I know, we also need to pay for the infrastructure, like servers and such, and I'm not sure how to calculate these expenses correctly in order to plan a budget. Could you please provide me with an estimate?
Besides paying Amazon for transcribing the audio, we will also pay Amazon for the compute and storage resources. Luckily, we live in the cloud era and small startups don't need to invest much into the infrastructure on the day one. Every major cloud provider charges per minute or even per second. For example, if we need 2 CPUs and 4 GB of memory to run the application, we will pay only 0.0384 per hour, or 0.0582 per hour, or 0.111. Okay, of course it's a bit more complex because the price also depends on which type of CPU is used, which type of disks is mounted, network performance, and many other factors. To navigate this ocean of pricing options, we are going to use a pretty amazing pricing calculator where I can create and estimate the initial Transcripto monthly AWS costs. I have a rough idea of what Transcripto will need. For sure we need at least 2 instances to run the application, just for the high availability. They can be pretty small for the start, we can always scale it both horizontally and vertically later. The monthly price just for those 2 servers is $30. In many cases, EC2 instances are the biggest part of the AWS bill. I also need the database, the load balancer, AWS S3 for storing files, and SNS for processing S3 notifications. You always pay per minute of the used resources, but besides that, you also need to pay for things like network traffic, storage, and so on. Every file that Transcripto user uploads is stored in AWS S3, which also costs money per file, per API request, and whatnot. All of those things add up to the final invoice we will receive by the end of the month. The good thing is that we really pay only for what we use. The bad thing is that it's really easy to lose track of the cloud costs and end up paying too much. You need to monitor the usage, configure budgets, investigate how to make use of reserved instances, savings plans, and spot instances. By the way, if you or your company need help to tame your cloud bill, you can hire us to do the assessment of your usage and tell you how to reduce costs. In case of Transcripto, I've ended up with the initial cost of $68 per month that should handle the initial load. What's not included in this price is the amount of time that I will save on maintaining the infrastructure myself, simply because so many things will be handled by AWS. Worth noting that infrastructure is not only the cloud resources we need to pay for. Eventually, we will add some extra third-party tools to make our life easier, for example, a customer support software. Each of those will have a monthly cost that will further increase the total expenses of Transcripto. But for now, let's assume that AWS is the only thing we will spend our money on. With the answer to all of the Leo's question, we can try to draw the final picture of Transcripto's financials. If someone wants to transcribe 1 hour of audio, we will charge $3. Out of these $3, we will give $1.50 to Amazon and 35 cents to Stripe, leaving us with $1.2 profit. If we process just 2 hours of audio per day, then our monthly report will look like this. $90 will go directly to Amazon Transcribe, $5.50 will go to Stripe for processing our payments. That will leave us with $84 of net profit, which of course is not really net because we will also spend $68 on the rest of the infrastructure. Our actual net profit will be $16. The more transcriptions we will process after those initial 60 hours, the more money we will make as a profit. The hope here is that we will have a big amount of mid to big size transcriptions, in which case we will be able to cover all the costs and make some profit out of it. Slightly unrelated to the topic, but still worth mentioning, is that we also will need to pay taxes on all the net profit we make, if any. Naturally, we can always increase the price, add extra paid features, and further reduce the costs, but for now the numbers look okay. Time will show if we will attract enough customers for Transcripto to become profitable. While I was finishing the payment code and preparing the cloud infrastructure for Transcripto, Leo started preparations for the launch of the product. He'll talk about this in the next episode, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the like button.